Hi, everybody. Welcome to Organizational Leadership and Informatics. I'm Dr. Tracy Hardell, and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. Welcome. I have been teaching with GCU for several years. I've taught at the ADN, BSN, and master's level for quite some time. But this is the first time that I am teaching this particular course for Grand Canyon University. I have taught the content in other courses, but this is the first time I'm doing this one, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a fairly extensive leadership background, and I am amazed at what we can do these days through healthcare informatics. And so we'll be talking a lot about those two topics as we get to know each other and go through our discussion questions and assignments in this course. All right, first of all, if you have not read the announcements, please do so. I have kind of chunked them up so that if you need to refer back to them later, you can find things kind of more easily. But please read through those. There's some information you really need to know about participation and prayer forum and things like that. So please take a moment to look through that. I've also gone ahead and posted my bio on the class wall, and in one of the announcements, I've reminded you that I really need you to post your bio on the class wall, but also included a few specific questions that I'd like you to answer. So if you could look at that, I would really appreciate it. Okay, so we've got two discussion questions this week. The first one has to do with value-based healthcare. And that is kind of a big, heavy, loaded term. And your book does a pretty good job about breaking it down. And all of us know that we can't just do things for the sake of doing them anymore. We really need to do them because they're helping to achieve better outcomes. So all sorts of things come in there: evidence-based practice, patient satisfaction. There's a lot of components in there. So please make sure you read that section of your book, and I'm looking forward to a good discussion about evidence, about value-based healthcare. The next one talks about interprofessional collaboration. If I'm reading things correctly, I believe that you all are in the nurse practitioner track. And while interprofessional collaboration is important for the RN bedside nurse, it's even more critical for the nurse practitioner. And so it's going to be a good discussion that we'll have this week about collaboration, why it's so important, things we can do to enhance that collaboration. I actually love the role of nurse practitioner when it truly combines both medicine and nursing into one role. And in order to do that, there's a lot of collaboration. So that'll be a good topic for us to discuss this week. So when you look at the discussion questions, since I believe most of you are fairly early in your program, when you look at the discussion questions, you need to make sure that you're answering every question in the DQ. So many of my new students start to read and just answer the first part, and maybe they skip the other parts, and then we don't get a good discussion, and I can't give everybody all the points. So just read them really carefully and make sure you're answering each one, and make sure that you've got a good reference. You can use your textbook as a reference. You can pull in outside references, but you have to have at least one reference to back up your opinion and answers to those discussion questions. Okay, no assignment for week one, so that's good. You can get a bunch of reading done and really dig into those DQs. But the assignment that we're going to be doing for week two requires you to complete a number of self-assessments. And they take a little while to get through, so you might want to start on those this week. And then you're going to need to compile the information you learned from that, put it into a pretty concise, word-limited paper, and that can take some time, because if you haven't been writing a lot in your career prior to coming into this program, one of the goals is that you will be able to write clearly and yet concisely. So that might take a little time for some of you to get that narrowed down. As you're starting to look at that assignment, remember, please look at both the directions as well as the rubric, because sometimes they're not exactly the same. And again, I want you to get all the points that you can earn. I want you to do well in the course. So make sure you're looking at both sections when you're writing your paper. I am going to include one more thing, either in the announcements or with this post. GCU does have an APA guidelines document that tells you how about setting up papers, doing the references, a lot of information about APA, and APA is much more than just how to set up the reference. So I'm either going to attach that to this video or attach it to one of the announcements. So, okay. All right. Oh, the one thing I forgot to mention, you might think this is a little bit of an unusual background. This is actually a very boring corner of my hotel room. My husband and I are currently on vacation in Maui, and I would have showed you a lovely picture of the outside, but it's pouring today, so maybe I'll upload some pictures later in the week. But just in case you were wondering, that's where we're at. All right, everybody, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you and working with you as you're getting further along in your nurse practitioner journey. I'll see you in the main forum.